power of a story is the story itself. Just because a person isn't world famous, that doesn't make their story any less powerful. My name's Griot Josh, and I'm here to tell all the stories. Welcome to another Talk Story to Me interview. I am your host, Griot Josh, as per usual. And this is my friend, Cheyenne. We met a few years ago. Was it on the, yeah, we met doing DC stuff, and then it kind of turned into like all this other stuff.
No, we met before DC stuff.
Was it before DC? Was that when we were doing like all the other?
Yeah, when everybody was a big happy family.
Right. right. Okay, that's what I thought. The timeline was like weird in my head. So yeah, we met on the scene and we did the
I got a
indie
green
creator life. Yo, I just found that yesterday. I have one of those too. So yeah, and then we shot our shots in some places and some landed and some didn't. But it's been a good ride so far, and I think she's amazing. And we're gonna get into her story. So hello, Cheyenne. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Happy to be here. Hello.
Right. Okay. So for people who do not know who you are, first of all, I'm a firm believer in like say the name the right way. How do you pronounce your last name? Because I was gonna say it, but I was like, I feel like that's wrong. I was gonna say like Ewulu, but I feel like that sounds. Oh,
no, that's how you. Yeah, that's how. Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at me. All right, like I'm about to disgrace the ancestors. Okay, Cheyenne Ewulu. Boom. But no, I hate it because like sometimes people, because you and I have talked about names, and sometimes people are just like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, no, it's your name. Like we should say your name as it is. So for those of you who do not know Cheyenne Ewulu, what do you do in the nerd space?
In the nerd space, I consider myself like a geek culture host. So anything nerdy that I'm doing is most likely I'm hosting or I'm like guesting on something, talking about anime, comics, movies, gaming, whatever you name it. I talk about it. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, other than that, I'm just like a simple nerd who just so happened to stumble upon an industry where apparently you can get paid to be one. So
right.
that's where I was at. So
gotcha. That's cool. So I know because I follow you. So you make videos, and you do sketches and stuff. And you've hosted. So give us some of the rundown, the things that you've hosted, because like I feel like you're underselling yourself right now, and people don't understand what a big deal you are, and places you've been. So like, what's some of the cool things that you've done?
Well, my first ever gig in LA out here was my first ever paid gig was literally being on a dating show for Machinima for gamers.
Very fitting for LA. That's perfect.
Other than that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sighing like I've done a lot of things. Okay, no, I've literally like mostly a lot of the stuff that I've done is like anime. So I've done like segments with Viz Media. I've hosted on several occasions for Funimation. Most recently, my own series that you can find on their YouTubes. So if you're an anime fan, look that up. It's called Funimation Flashback, written and hosted by yours truly and edited, slaved over by yours truly, but it's a great content.
Yes, we'll link that.
And yeah, I've done like stuff for Nerdist. I can't even remember. We've done stuff for DC Comics. I mean, I'm sure we can say that now that DC Universe is no more, but
which is so weird. That's such yeah.
Yeah,
I've been trying to figure out how to tell that story. I think we should just tell it. But I want you to tell it because I'm interviewing.
Yeah,
I mean, what I have to say.
Yeah, I'm sure whatever NDA we had to sign is not even in effect anymore, right, especially now that the show is canceled. So right.
The whole app, I think, is dissolved. Everything is now on.
Yeah. Literally, I looked on Roku and I was like, "Whoa!" It says this does not. I thought they were just going to keep it for the comics, but I guess not. They just
nah, whole thing.
Well, Need to see it.
That's
But yeah,
funny.
that's my story. I'm probably forgetting things, but
You definitely are. Okay, so before DC Universe came to be, the premier show, their talk show, DC Daily. In order to get that off the ground, they needed to assemble a crew of people to know if the show would work. Cheyenne and I want to say five other people ended up being the final like seven. Um, that basically we did all the testing. We played the games. We interacted with comic book writers and artists and all that. We did all of it. Um, and because of us, the thing got greenlit. People were like, "Oh, this works." And then, well, we all know Oscar's so white. Like it's just a tradition. They kind of took us out of it and they put in a bunch of people that didn't look like us. Um, but for a brief window in time, um, we were on set, like we were doing it, and it was everything that industry wants now is what we were for the testing of that show. Like we were black.
yeah, for me before,
No, go ahead,
yeah, for
please.
me before that, I had done something for DC for Warner Brothers and Suicide Squad, and that's how I kind of met the team. And they wanted me to come out to audition for what was the one before DC Daily? DC All Access. They wanted me to come out and audition for
Oh,
DC All
for the
Access.
when they did the host
Yeah.
search.
So I auditioned. Yeah, they did the host search and they were like, "Hey, you should come out and audition." And I was like, "Okay, great." So I did my little self tape. They wanted me in for callbacks. I came in and I think I bombed. Like it was like my first time ever doing something like that professionally, and I hate that my first time doing something like that had to be DC Comics.
Right.
But I just remember being so nervous and like I was like, "Oh my god, they're never like they're never gonna look at me for anything ever again. Like this is not fair. This is my first time doing anything like this. I'm not seasoned. I've never like actually had to read a teleprompter like that. Like I've never had to like do this stuff on the spot. And like I could talk about, comics and stuff, like they were asking and like playing video games or whatever, but I
Yeah.
was like, dang, like I just felt too nervous. It was my first time. So yeah, there's a history. There's a little history there, but what's for you, I'm a firm believer that what is for you will be for you, and you know, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely 100%. And like I know I will say for me, side note, reading the teleprompter, that's a real skill.
It
Like just
really
being able
is.
to like
Honestly,
follow it.
nobody knows this, but I'm like kind of like mildly dyslexic. So like reading a teleprompter for me was like one of the biggest struggles that I've had. And that's why I was so fortunate to be able to do this series last year. So I can
Yeah.
like actually, it helped me like practice reading and like doing different speeds and stuff. Cause like,
Yeah.
man, like that was like a little bit, cause I get my words like jumbled sometimes and like, so yeah, that was like a big help last year. But yeah, reading a teleprompter for the first time for a big audition.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, because I did the host thing too, audition. I didn't even read it. I just memorized the script that they sent me. I was like, this is gonna be a lot easier. So if I lose myself, I've already got it. Because I was terrified. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
and I agree. Like in the end, what's for you is for you, and no one can impede that. And what's meant to happen will happen.
I believe that there's a reason. Like, if I had done DC, I wouldn't have got to do stuff for Funimation. You know what I mean? So,
That's true.
and
And
I
anime,
love,
I would dare say, is like your bigger
yeah,
passion
it's my
overall.
first.
Like
I
your
love
heart.
Batman. Don't get me wrong. Nightwing, stand forever. But like, I think anime is like my first genuine love. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
dope.
whatever.
See, people. This is why we have her on the show. This is why we have her on the show. But yeah, it was good times. I think when I think about it now, I'm not even bitter. To me, it's just like, even though it was so short, it's like this is what it could have been. Or not
Mhm.
what it could have been, but this is something that can be in the future, where you guys can't tell because she's sitting, but Cheyenne is tall. And there
Yes.
is an industry bias against tall black women with hair like she has. And so like we were just, it was all of us. I look nerdy kid. I got comic books on my wall. Nerdy black guy, tall nerdy black girl. There was an older gay dude in there. We had like a really cool white boy in
Who I
there.
actually met again.
Oh
At
really? I
yeah,
love
this
him
work
so much.
nerdy
He's so
event.
funny.
I was like, I
Right.
remember you.
Oh man, he was an actual comedian, so he was hilarious. We had Mexican girl in there, like it was an all star. It was an all star squad. So that
Yeah.
didn't happen, but you know, to briefly be in the room where it happens, and be like, okay,
Yeah, it was really cool. It was like, it was a learning experience for sure. I was like, I learned a lot, I wasn't even invited like you guys, like originally. I think
oh really?
one of you guys spilled the beans that y'all were like filming something for DC, and I literally reached out to
Yo,
whoever it was, and
I didn't know that.
I was like, I was like, hey, I'm like not even like mentioning anything, but like just being like, hey, I'm here. So like, just a reminder, if you guys ever need anybody for anything, please let me know. Because like for me, I was like, I'm very much like shoot your shot. That's like literally my anthem. Like I'm so
Yo,
about
yeah,
shooting my shot. I don't care how annoying I am. Like I'm gonna say something, and like that was the whole reason why he's like, you know what, we are doing something this weekend. You come on by, and I was like,
yes,
okay, yeah.
that's crazy. I never knew that.
So that was that.
I did not know that.
Yes, yes, that's the story.
That's so funny. So yeah, so we got that's some of her history. Those some of the things she's done. She's all the hosting, and I believe you. I mean, I know Pretty Brown and Nerdy is behind you, but for a time, you had created your own like brand imprint and done stuff through that as well. Didn't you interview Jordan Calloway? I want to say.
Yeah, me and Jordan Calloway ended up. Yeah, that's the homie right now. Like we did a Black Lightning interview. Like the Black Lightning PR team, bless that show. I'm so mad that it's canceled.
Yeah.
They really hooked us up with interviews. They were like, yeah, like we want these girls in the line. We want them to interview everybody. And yeah, and then like the weirdest thing happened. Like second time I went to the Warner Brothers mixer at Comic-Con, I actually got to talk to Jordan because I think we were thinking of like possibly like interviewing him, and we found out he was an anime fan, and we were like, "Yo, like me too, like what?" And so like since then we just like started following each other. He's like a super cool dude, like super
Yeah.
cool as shit. Like yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So
But
I have
yeah,
a
we interviewed
small
like the whole
Jordan
cast.
story. You said you guys did a whole what?
Oh, nice. I said we interviewed the whole cast pretty much.
Oh, got you. That's dope. Yeah, no. So many years ago, when I was a kid and I was homeschooled, Jordan was homeschooled as well. And briefly, our homeschool paths like intertwined, and like our moms hung out and we like homeschooled together. And I think this is when he was doing Lion King because I think he was Simba. And then so we hung out a lot, and then your kids like you just kind of move on. And then
Yeah.
when he popped up on Black Lightning, I was like, what? That's a trajectory.
I know.
That's tight.
Now he's getting his own spinoff.
I saw that. I was like, you know what? I'm here for everyone getting their opportunities. Like, this is dope.
Yes, we need it because they can't just take off Black Lightning and not add anything else. Like what?
I'm saying he doesn't even have black in his name. I'm like, yes, this is true progress. This is true progress.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Okay, so you said anime is like your diehard thing. Usually there's a story behind that. So when did you get into anime, and why has it been like your thing?
This is always a story that I never really like know the exact answer to because I'm pretty sure I've loved anime since I was like 7. And
what was your gateway?
Obviously everybody Mike, I don't see that's a question that I'm so like I don't even know how to answer that. I know the anime that I was definitely obsessed with, but I feel like the anime that was like my gateway was actually Tenchi Muyo or Tenchi Universe, which is like I want to say because I feel like I remember a moment when I first stumbled upon anime, and it was like my sister flicking a bunch of channels, and next thing I see like a girl with pink hair, and I was sick of her just flicking channels. I wanted to just watch TV, and I was like, stop it right there. I know that show. Lying out of my mouth because I've never seen that show before. I was like, stop it right there. Next thing I know, I'm watching Tenchi Muyo. Next thing I know, I'm obsessing over Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z. Yes. And it's just like the rest is history from there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, she's hardcore. I didn't realize how hard, like obviously like you talked about it when we hung out and we did stuff. But like when we kind of like stopped doing DC stuff and then kind of even stopped. She's done stuff. She's done Marvel stuff. She's put me on with Marvel stuff. We did a whole like Black Panther thing, which was dope. Um, See, Cheyenne's a real one. She be forgetting.
Rest in peace, Chadwick.
She's been out here. I know. Rest in peace, Chadwick. That was a hard time. That is a hard time. She's out here.
It's still very hard.
Yeah, I can't really watch most of his stuff. Like I was able to watch Black Panther, but sometimes just like.
Yeah, I haven't done a rewatch yet, and I still don't think I'll be able to. So.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah. Even watching like the end of Endgame, it's hard because I'm like, this was like we all knew. I feel like he was a little smaller in Endgame, but I was just like, he was barely in Endgame. He didn't really need to be in top Black Panther like muscular physique, and then to find out what it really was, I'm just like, that's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cheyenne's a real one. She's put me on many times. Just reached out like, hey Josh, you wanna go to a premiere? I'm gonna go to a screening of something that comes out in 2 weeks. I saw Black Panther first because of Cheyenne. So yeah, see, she's been around. She's done Marvel, DC, anime, Funimation. She's got deep roots in this game. So okay, so we're trying to get the money to match the depth.
Sorry, if you said anything for like the last 10 seconds, it like cut off and it's like lagging. I have no idea what it's doing.
Oh, it's
okay. The last thing I heard is she's got deep roots.
Oh yeah, that's all I said. I said she's got deep roots in this game.
Oh, okay.
And I said, we're trying to get the money to match the depth of the roots. That's it. That's where we're at.
Pretty much.
Yes, that's the dream. So, and I know, like, I'm just really stuck on the stuff that you've done and like you being in this space. So I think it's really important. So what is, and then this is the last question in this vein, and we'll kind of move on. What is your favorite thing that you've done in the nerd space? And like your favorite thing, especially like that you never thought you would get to do?
Definitely hosting the My Hero Academia movie premiere red carpet. I never thought, like, the whole story behind that is actually like wild. Well, not wild, but like it's like, what? So like a friend of mine had already was asked to do it, but they were like, well, basically they're like way too busy, and they're like, I don't know much about My Hero anyway, so like let me pass it on to Cheyenne and see if she'll do it. And so she messages the people at Funimation, and they're like, well, I can't do it, but I mean, you should definitely use Cheyenne. She talks about this all the time. And they were literally like, oh, that's so funny, because we were literally just going to reach out to her if you didn't work out. And I was like,
oh wow.
And next thing I know, my friend from Funimation is sliding in my DM, and she's like, actually I slid in her DM. I was like, because I hadn't heard anything, so I was like, yo, where's, I at least wanted an invite to the premiere to see if I could at least walk the red carpet, just to like feel something. And like, and she's like, I'll do you one better. How would you like to host it with me? And I was like, I've never hosted a movie premiere before, so this is gonna be great. Like, even though my feet were killing me, like just killing me. Like, you can, I was wobbling so bad. I think the moment we signed off, I literally kicked my shoes off. I didn't even care if I went home with them. I was like, I don't want to wear these anymore. And I put on my Converse. I was like, I'm done. But it was like such an amazing moment. Like such an amazing moment. I feel like no matter where I go in life, if they ever called me up and said, hey, you want to host a movie premiere with us, I would be like 100% yes. I don't care if I'm a Oscar nominated director or something sitting in my expensive loft. I'm going to say yes, because like that was like really a moment of like that was a moment. That was a moment. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah, I remember when you did.
I think that's my favorite nerd.
Big.
That was amazing. I was like, wow.
That's cool.
One of my favorite animes, and here I am.
Right. So now let's slide into, now that we have an understanding, for those of you who did not know, the amazingness that Cheyenne is. Also, because this is Zoom, this is like, I'm so looking forward to when we do in-person interviews. she's extremely like bubbly and like quirky. I like it. And Zoom is not capturing that. But if y'all can see her in person, like she's all energy and like movement and life of the party. She's great. She's
I
fun.
try to be. It's been a hard quarantine, just been
Man,
chilling.
yeah. Now I feel you. Sometimes it's just like I used to be happier.
Wow. Remember Friends?
Right. Remember going out? That old thing.
Yeah.
So then what is your I guess we kind of touched a little bit, but like your origin story as it were, or I guess we'll do both. So like what is your origin story? And by that I mean like just into nerddom overall. So like I know like for me my intro in more or less was I want to say Batman the animated series. Like I was like every other little kid. And then when I saw Star Wars, I think I was 7. That was it. I was like, oh, this is my life. Like what was your, and it helped just, you don't have to go, you can go as deep into it as you want to, but it helped me because, I had, family situations and like my dad and I didn't really get along. So like the whole like Luke Darth Vader thing, I felt a little kinship there. And then, it was like my mom, I had my brother at the time, and just the whole complicated, but still having a purpose and a power thing dynamic that really resonated among like 1,000 other things. And I just kind of, stuck with it and things transpired as they did. And then eventually I was like, oh, this is like what I would like to do. I would like to be in the entertainment space, either telling stories or talking about stories. Like that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So what is your, I guess, origin story in that sense of like, how'd you get in and why did it appeal to you? And then fast forwarding to the present moment, like, is this what you're currently doing? Even though it's slowed down because of quarantine, but like working with these different companies, is this what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I guess I got my first taste of being a nerd when my dad bought us an SNES. And yeah, we were over here playing Super Mario. Would go over to my cousin's house anytime I wanted to play Dreamcast. And I think my parents were like very much like, they were like new parents. I was like their second child, and they were like figuring things out in a new city. Mm-hmm. And so they really wanted to keep us inside. Like they really like didn't trust like the outside world in the neighborhood, and like they just wanted like to make sure we were safe at all times. So like if we weren't at the babysitter at school, they wanted to find a way to keep us inside and out of trouble. So they just bought us video games. So pretty much, yeah. So so pretty much they bought us every system. Literally anytime it was updated, it'd be like, hey, can you buy us this? They bought it for us. So like didn't have a problem asking for stuff, as a kid. But so my first taste in video games, and then I got into anime next for sure. And then obviously, Batman the animated series came out on Kids WB, and they were doing like all these different fusions. Like, how Kids WB had like the bumpers or whatever, and they had like Pokemon talking, like Ash Ketchum talking to Batman, and like I think that's kind of what made me like be like, okay, I should check this out next. And then next thing you know, I'm like falling in love with Batman, then Batman Beyond, then like then I get a little bit older than Justice League. So like I was just like around. Right, I blame Kids WB, but yeah. But I've always wanted to be an actor. Like I've never just like, if I wasn't going to be an actor, I was going to be a comic book artist. Like I wanted to make manga specifically. And so, I thought I was going to be a mangaka. Like I drew so much manga when I was a kid, like my own stuff when I was a kid. I still have stuff laying around from literally when I was in middle school.
Wow. That's cool.
So I thought originally I was going to be a mangaka. And then all of a sudden I took theater one time and I was like, oh no, I want to be an actress. And then I never thought that I would be like hosting for anybody. Like I love being on camera, don't get me wrong. Like, but I never thought I would be like doing hostings, let alone for like geek stuff. I didn't even know that was like a thing. Like, so I also didn't see like Black girls doing it. That's like the biggest thing. Like I didn't see like any girls that looked like me doing it. And so I was like, you know, it never crossed my mind until I guess college when I took our TV. I was in our TV club, and I was like one of the main hosts for the TV network or whatever at our school. And my director, my news director was like, "Hey Cheyenne, you're actually like kind of good at this. Can you like start interviewing like all the celebrities that come to our school or whatever for the, you know, for the TV?" And I was like, "Okay." And so I kind of built a reel that way because they like let me on camera with like
Yeah.
Donnell Rawlings and like Keaton Thompson and like this other dude. And I was like, "Yo," so like that was like my reel. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then eventually I made Pretty Brown and Nerdy and started doing stuff there. And then I was like, "Oh, there might be like an avenue for this, I think." I think. I
Yeah.
won't know until I move to LA, but I feel like there's something that I could be doing, you know, in the meantime until I get to like other, you know, areas of my career. And so, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's a good that's a good transition because the next next chunk is a big piece of story. Because you grew up. Did you grow up in Texas?
No, I grew up in New York.
Oh, okay. So
Mhm.
when did you move from New York to Texas?
Well, I moved in Florida, and this was like fifth grade, sixth grade.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then I moved. So I guess I've been in Texas for like a while, but like I don't feel like I've like it's so weird because I don't feel like I've like gained anything from Texas. So when people tell me like where'd you grow up, I'm like I grew up in New York. Like that's like the place where I like remember getting all my interests and like everything that I'm doing now. I probably wouldn't have done had I not lived in New York. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Got you. No. I feel you. Um, so you did. So you're making your way. You create Pretty Brown and Nerdy, because you think that there's like an opportunity to do this, and so you create Pretty Brown and Nerdy when you're in Texas,
hmm
and so what is the story of you moving from Texas to LA? Was it really just like, oh, I think I could do this in LA, and you just left? Like, was it a struggle? Was it hard? Like, what was that about? What was that like?
I always knew after I graduated from college that I was gonna go to Los Angeles to do entertainment, like regardless of how long it would have taken me.
Mhm.
And so we did PBN, and because of that, like different like producers or whatever in LA would like reach out to me and say, "Hey, come out here, got something for you. If you come out here, like just hit us up. If you come out here, yada yada yada." And so I was like, okay, cool. You know, I got LA on my mind. It's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm a firm believer in like only doing something if you for sure know that the place where you're at can no longer serve you in any way. And that's kind of where I felt in Texas. I was like, okay, I feel like I've done all I can here. Like you know, Funimation was in Texas too, and I've always wanted to like do voice acting for them. Never thought hosting was like even a thing that I could have done with them. I always thought if I did anything with them, it would be for voice acting. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, okay, you know, I feel like I've built a reel here with like Pretty Brown Nerdy in school, and like so I have like something to show, and like you know I've done video production classes, and I've done like uh plays and stuff in college, and like so like I'm like, okay, what else is left for me to do here? And like producers are like reaching out to me. I'm getting like auditions with DC Comics. Like at this point, something is calling me to LA, so I need to hurry up and just like peace out and go. And so that was kind of my mentality, and I left.
Got it. I love
Yeah,
this. I love this whole like undercurrent theme of like, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Like this whole like following like
that's very
the
much
bigger
me.
than
I'm
you
like, well,
purpose.
if I want to do it, I'm gonna go do it. So like, you know,
Yeah.
if I made you mad, sorry.
If I made you mad, sorry. Direct quote, Cheyenne. No,
Yes.
that's super dope. Just like this place no longer serves me. I'm gonna go out here and do this thing because I want to do it, and shoot your shots all along the way. So all that happens. You decide to move out here. Was it like, did you move out here with a job, or did you get out here and it's like, okay, now I got to find a job, and like, what was that part like?
Yeah, no, I was actively looking for jobs while I was still in Texas. And then the moment I found a job and signed everything, that's when I bought my plane ticket. I was like, all right, I'm out. Bye. uh, I had gotten to a car wreck like in December of 2017, I think. And it was like a blessing in disguise. I know it sounds like crazy to say, but it was like almost a blessing in disguise because
Yeah.
one, I came out like unscathed, and two, I got like a good settlement from that. So I was like, oh, this is a sign. Like I definitely got to move now. Like they ain't trying to kill me out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not,
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna take this job. And even if I, don't end up keeping this job, I'll still have this settlement money to like keep me good for a little bit. And so I said, peace out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now I feel that you ain't gonna get a second chance at me. You should have hit me good the first time. Like I'm out. That's cool. Okay, so you come out here, you start doing stuff, like getting acclimated with the scene. You're still doing PBN at that point, but then at some point, at some juncture, you decide that you have to walk away from PBN for you. So what was your thought process behind that? Because I could easily see the argument of like, you built this great thing by Black women for Black women, and it's was it bi-coastal because everyone wasn't just out here. And you started it, like it would not exist without you. And you had gotten,
I mean, we all started it. We all kind of just like was like, it was like a thing that we were doing just like in my apartment when I was in university. Like let's make a YouTube channel, because like we were watching like a lot of Andre Black Nerd. Yeah, we were watching a lot of Black Nerd comedy. We were like, do Black girls do stuff like this on YouTube? No? Okay, let's do it. That's basically what we did.
Gotcha. Okay. So that part was incorrect. That's the, and this is why we have these why we have this conversation. So all of you had made it. So you had come up with it. You had gotten opportunities through it, and arguably it was like expanding, and it was it was gaining legs, and you guys were like putting some structure to it. So what was your thought process behind like, now it's time for me to walk away?
Yeah, I think for a while we had all like, especially like after I moved to LA, there was like less and less drive between the three of us to continue, trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
And I think I got busy, and like, the other girls got busy, and it was just like, we were still down to do it, but you can just like tell the energy, all of it was not matching each other's energy. And so I was like, well, why keep doing this when I could put all that energy that I'm using for this into something for myself? Yeah. And like I said, if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? So like, I think in 2019, we had all met up when I traveled, and we just kind of like had that conversation like, hey, maybe it's time to like put this to bed, or like not put it to bed, because like Pretty Proud and Nerdy is still a thing. It's a completely different thing now. Yeah. But it's still, the name is still alive. But yeah, we just decided that we were just gonna not do it. It was like a mutual thing. We were like, yeah, we felt it was coming, and people grow. What's the phrase I'm trying to say? People grow. Friendships just aren't as strong as they once were. When we started. So like, yeah, grown apart. There we go. People grow apart. And so that's pretty much all that happened. Like, I get people asking me all the time, just like, literally, like, we moved and then we grew apart. So like, it's literally what happened. So yeah, I just decided, I was like, well, I'm just gonna make my own content and like, try to make a name for myself. Because at the time, people were also calling me Pretty Brown and Nerdy, like, oh, instead of like knowing that I was Cheyenne, it would just kind of be like a group thing, which, it's great, but I just felt like it was time to like start making a name for myself. Like, I want, when people refer to me, they're referring to me because of the work that I've done, and like, my short film, or like, my content on my, so I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way I can get this done. And it's not going to get done if I keep, being almost overshadowed by this. So it was fun. But like I said, when something no longer serves you, you got to.
Yeah. Use Michael Jackson. Like, all right, it's time to go. I got to go and moonwalk out of here.
Yeah, it was fun. We had great time. But yeah, there's other Black girls doing stuff now. So,
yeah, it's tons of other people to watch. Scene. It's crazy. Sometimes I feel like old. I'm just like, what exists now versus like even just 3 years ago is just, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, which is good though.
Yep.
I mean, obviously we want more people doing stuff, but it's just nuts to see. Okay, so you do all that. You guys grow apart. You leave Pretty Brown and Nerdy. You're still out here hustling. You're doing the hosting thing. I know at this point, because I think we had discussed it, where you're just like, I don't want to only do hosting. Like the even you already said it earlier, the core dream is to be an actress. Like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what you want to do. So then you end up at identity acting school.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us that story. Because I was super blown
Yeah.
away. Because like I remember that whole thing just watching. I was like, she really just out here just, you know what? I want that. I'm gonna go do it. Like I never told you, and I probably should have. I'm a terrible friend. I never told you, but watching that part of your journey specifically was super inspiring to me. Of like, you can really just decide that you're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
something and go after it and not stop till it gets done. So I just, yeah, I found that wildly inspiring and empowering. I was just like,
Aw.
this is crazy. This is cool. Yeah, yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
tell us that story, please.
Yeah, identity. So at the time I was like agentless and like didn't really have that many acting credits. And I had already like taken like an acting school, and like people love when you're acting school, was it when your acting school credits are like long and thick
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, because they want to know like if you don't have experience, you at least have training. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I was looking for an acting school at the time, and I was already like taking this other one that was pretty big in itself. But a friend of mine had said that she had gotten into IDSA, and I was like, oh, I was like, well, how was like the audition process? Like, I'm thinking of doing it. A lot of my favorite actors went to the same school in London, so like, why not try here in LA? And I guess from there, she like encouraged me to do it, and next thing I know, I'm submitting myself and getting called in to come and audition. And then they have us like doing a bunch of movement exercises on the floor. They have us dancing. I can't dance. Like they have us dancing. They have us doing breathing exercises. They have us crawling on the floor like panthers. Like it was insane. Like actually like very intense, the audition
Yeah.
process. I had never cried. I'm not a crier. So like crying on cue is so hard for me.
Mm.
But I remember like one of the things that they wanted us to do was to cry on cue. And I was like, well, shit, this is going to be the thing that's not going to let me into the fucking school. Great. Let
Yeah.
me just pack my things and go home. And it was like so crazy. Like the method that they used to like really break us down and like get us into that moment, I will never forget, because like I literally, when they said cry, it was like tears. And I was like, am I really doing this? And like
Whoa.
my face is like sad, but in my head I'm like, I'm really crying. Oh my God. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on? So that's when
Wow.
I knew. I was like, yeah, that's when I officially knew that I had to get into that school. I was like, I gotta do this now. Like the way that they're working me right now, I gotta feel this every fucking day. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then they ended up choosing me, and yeah, and then rest is history. I took like 2 semesters, and then I deferred, and then COVID happened. And so yeah, so I'm kind of on standby right now because the schools aren't open, which
Yeah.
stinks, but it is what it is. But yeah, it was really a really cool experience, and I can't wait to go back because yeah.
That's super cool. And correct me if I'm wrong. When you got in, I don't know about the second semester, but when you got in the first time,
Mm.
it wasn't easy peasy, wasn't it? Wasn't there like a financial bridge that you had to like get over? Like once that happened.
Yeah, so it's not a cheap school. It's not a cheap school at all. Okay, and I'm a little like, I think at the time I don't even know what job I had at the time, but yeah, it's not a cheap school. So I ended up making the money for it. It was whatever, but yeah, it's not a cheap school.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember because I think you posted about it. And I think that was one of the things I was just like, yo, she's really just putting herself out here. Like, this is what I'm doing.
Mhm,
This is how much I got, and this is how much I don't got. I was
mhm,
like, I don't know if that was a real check for me because I was like, I don't know what I'm dedicated to enough
mhm,
to expose my insufficiencies on a massive scale like that. Like for me, I'm just
mhm,
like, if I can't do it, a handful of friends will know, and then either we'll get it together or we won't. I'd be like, you know what, I'll just do that later. But you were really like, you're really about it, which I mean, I guess it goes back into your theme of like, you're not going to do things you don't want to do, and nothing's going to stop you from doing what you do want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's dope. I don't think I knew you did a second semester. Actually, I'm positive I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did 2 semesters, and then COVID literally said, "Hey," and they were like, "Well, we're shutting schools down," and I was like, "Great."
Right.
They were like, "You can do online," and I was like, "I'm more of like a physical person. I feel like online is just like not for acting specifically. It's just like not for me. Like I need to physically be there."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Yeah, that's fine. We get it. Hopefully, we'll open." They're thinking they want to open schools up this year, but probably won't happen.
Okay. So is it one of
But
those things though? Like I know
yeah.
you said you're on like standby. Like if they do open, are you guaranteed back in, or is it like you never went?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. That's like, well, I guess it's a small mercy, but a welcome one.
Oh yeah, because I was like, if I had to audition again, girl, I don't even know.
Right. Got you. Okay. Yeah, all that. See, and for those of you who don't know, I said Identity Acting School, but you said IDSA, which makes me think it's Identity School of Acting. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Identity School of Drama
Identity School
and
of
Acting or whatever.
Drama. Yeah, produced such wonders such as John Boyega, and we need say no more.
Mm-hmm.
And like a plethora of other people. Like I'm impressed. Like the stuff that his people book. I can't remember the guy's name who runs it. I think
Femi,
Femi.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's making hitters that are booking real stuff. Netflix, Hulu. He's got people everywhere. Um, and yeah, I think that's amazing. Another testament of just like going after it. Like when I found out that he was like not a big deal, he just kind of made himself a big deal. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy. That's super crazy. I realized we did not touch on this at all, so I'm curious now. How does uh, your heritage and your culture influence the art you make? Because we didn't really talk about that because I didn't think about it because I already know you. And it's like, oh yeah, people don't know, and you don't have. Well, I don't say you don't have an accent, but because I think you can turn it on when you want to. Actually, I know you can because I've seen your skits when you play your mom. You go full accent there. So for the people who do not know, what is your cultural heritage, and then how does that come into things you make or how you even look at art and stuff?
So I'm Nigerian. I have specifically Igbo blood in me, and yeah. But I was born in New York, so like I wasn't like born in Nigeria. But obviously, my parents are from Nigeria, so like they instill so much of the culture in me, even though they still think that I'm this wild American washed girl. But I listen, and that's like why I do these skits. They don't think I listen until they see like that I'm mimicking them and things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's what I grew up as. So yeah. So yeah, that's my background pretty much. I love being Nigerian. I'm proud Nigerian.
Yeah.
I may not have the accent to the T. My cousins do make fun of me when I go back to Nigeria and I try to like, talk like them, and they're like, like no. I'm just like, okay, well. But yeah, so that's that.
Gotcha. So does that come into like things that because I mean I don't think a lot of people know, like when you do skits, like there's writing and stuff that's involved. Does that come into like your writing or anything like that? Because I know like I just know, just not to disparage Black Americans because that is a thing. But on a certain level, I'm just like a regular, just Black American. Like I don't have any extra like cultural thing behind me that I am aware of or connected to. And working with kids, actually, I tend to work with a lot of Mexican kids. That's really big in their family. So if we're writing poems, one of my favorite examples, I was working with one of my girls, Mexican girl, and in the poem she wrote chancla. And then when we were going over it again, she's like, no, I'm just going to change that to sandals. I was like, why? She's like, well, people don't know what chanclas are. I'm like, well, that's what Google is for. But for you, this is your world. This is your poem. Chancla is you. And she's like, okay. And so, so I see that type of stuff, like where heritage and culture intersects with art and creativity. And so I was just curious if that applies to you as well, or to what degree. And maybe it doesn't, but this is just me being curious.
Definitely with my name. Like I always said, like, so Cheyenne is obviously not my like birth name. I think I changed it to Cheyenne because I was getting on the internet and I didn't want people to like, like like I was like 16 on the internet and I was like, I'm just gonna go by an alias. People call me this in real life sometimes anyway instead of my actual name. So I'm just gonna go by this. That way, like I can be as like private as I'd like. So I think like eventually I always said when I booked my first major thing that I would go by my Nigerian name, like completely. So I'm just like waiting on that one row. Like all of this is fine or whatever. That's why I also changed to Cheyenne the Geek, because I also wanted to like differentiate between like the work that me, Cheyenne as a person does, and then Cheyenne the Geek as a personality.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I always said when I booked my first major thing, when I booked my first major project, I will go by my complete Nigerian name. And yeah, but which is like so funny because my parents disagree. They're like, no, stick with Cheyenne. Like, I was like, like I didn't think y'all would like, they're like, just go by Cheyenne. Like, it's like, at least you still have your last name so people know you're Nigerian. You don't need to like, change it at this point. I was like, dang, okay, I thought y'all. But
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's super cool though. Like, that's dope. That's dope. All right, winding down. So, is there anybody that you like look up to as like this is the prototype of what I'm trying to be? Or at this point, especially I think, with technology and everything, do you find yourself basically being your own prototypes? Like the thing that you kind of want to do doesn't exist yet? Or like what is that for you?
I think the closest to a person like that is Issa Rae for sure. Just because she came from YouTube and I am, started as a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I would say Issa Rae is the closest thing. Other than that, I always want to like be able to forge my own lane, I take pride in like my nerdiness and I want to make sure I carry that with me, And like whenever I like do have my first TV show, my goal is to like make sure that my character is like inspired by me like to the T. Like I want to see a show about like a nerdy, awkward Black girl who's like nerdy to the core, like 100%. And because of that, she sometimes feels like isolated, in the world. And like on top of that, she has like immigrant parents who don't understand a lot of her interests and like who don't understand like this and that about her. And then so like I always want to make sure that like whenever I do, I'm not like following anybody else's thing. Like I want to make sure that like I'm doing my own thing so that I can tell my own story in the end. Yeah. Gotcha. I don't think that made sense, but
no, that makes
I don't think that I don't know.
That's quite profound. So I could tell my own story in the end. Like that's good. I totally get that. And yeah, you and Issa Rae definitely have very like kindred energy. I could definitely see you two specifically doing like a buddy cop type.
So the internet says. The internet swears up and down that I sound like her.
I'm just saying. Issa Rae, if you were looking for like, I know Insecure is coming to an end. If you're like, who needs to be a part of the next big thing that you do? Cheyenne's the way to go.
Give me up, girl. I know you Senegalese.
Right. And she's got an agent. She's Cheyenne's the future.
Let me know. We'll look back on this in like a couple years and then see if anything's happening.
And I feel good. I was like, yeah, man, I was interviewing her before she booked that show because
I love Issa Rae. She's great. I actually auditioned for Awkward Black Girl when I was in college.
Really?
Yeah, she was having open auditions on YouTube, and I think I still have my audition tape. It was awful, like terrible, like terrible. You know, my theater classmates were kind enough to be a part of it and like help me out. But yeah, so that's a story.
That's hilarious. I mean, it's cool to be able to look back and be like, you know what? I was not as dope as I thought I was.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, actually, it makes sense that I didn't get that job or that opportunity because I sucked.
Mhm.
Um,
That's where
that's cool.
training comes in. Like you learn your weaknesses and your strengths. And I definitely did that at IDSA. Like they really whipped me into shape. Like things that I had no idea that I was doing wrong, they like made sure I knew immediately. Things I had no idea that I needed to do. They like, I mean, the training there was like really good. Like I'm so thankful. Even if I never went back, I'm like so thankful for like the time I did spend because I learned a lot. I
Yeah.
learned a lot. Like I have notes on top of notes still over here.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that's good to be able to learn and like recognize like I didn't have it all together. Um, but yeah, I mean, just by the people that they put out when you told me that you or when I saw that you were like doing that, I'm just like, yo, like that means you have to be a certain type of person just to get in. And I was like, and she's going in, so that means she's already up here, and then she's going in, and she's gonna come out just a monster. And then COVID was like, hold on
I
one
know
second,
COVID, man.
hold this call.
COVID
Uh,
sucks. You know, I actually booked a commercial the beginning
before
with
COVID,
COVID. My first, like, what would have been my first national commercial, and
what?
they shut down production. Yeah, it was for Google. It was for the Stadia game. I was
Wow.
gonna be in the Stadia commercial, and COVID had everything shut down pretty much because it was like the beginning and nobody like really knew what was
Oh,
going
it
on,
was
like
like in
how to
March
stay
or
safe.
something.
Yeah, and so the casting directors were like, well, you know, we'll reach out if they decide to do this again, and never reached out. So,
Right. Dang.
you know,
I did not know that.
yeah.
I didn't know. You know what? This is a good spot to go into biggest highs and like lowest downers. I'm sure there's a better way to phrase that. You know, like what's been your biggest moment and what's been like your deepest disappointment of just like ah
Uh, for what? For like hosting or like?
um I would say overall. I mean, it doesn't have to be hosting specific. It could be um with acting, but just anything just in the I think in the broader scope of something that you wanted and really put your all into and went out for, and you know, something happened and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is such an amazing high. This is I will hold this forever." And then another, you
Yeah.
know, and then the opposite, which is like, you know, maybe I should take up accounting or knitting.
Oh, I don't ever have those thoughts, but like, I think my like biggest high was definitely my short film premiering at the Indie Film Night in Hollywood at the TCL. That was like my biggest
Yes.
to this day. Um, and my biggest low, mm, probably the Google thing, because I know it was like, and it's like even more frustrating because I know it was like completely out of my control. Because
Right.
like, what am I going to do? Shake the world and make it better, you know? So I think the Google thing, because like I really was like, man, like this was gonna be it. Like this was gonna be like the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then yeah, that happened. I was like, okay, well, when one door closes, another opens. I believe that like truly.
Mm-hmm.
So and like other doors did open, but like that would have been like really, really cool to just say, like, hey,
Yeah,
I was in
that
this
was worth
commercial
it.
and I got it because I pretended to play Fortnite in my audition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool. So okay, so for and I like where this is going. So for people who um may not have quite the degree of emotional resilience that you have, you know, I feel like, you know, most people, if they have this literally life changing like opportunity of like being in a Google commercial, it doesn't really get much higher than that. Like that is a career launcher, almost like Amanda Gorman reading at the inauguration. She only had like 100,000 or something followers, and then by the end of the day, she had like 2 million. Um,
Mm.
what would you say to someone who's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, Cheyenne, like you can no one can be positive all the time. Like this really sucked. Like I was invested and like I'm hurt. Because it seemed like you have a good emotional resiliency of like, all right, that sucked. Maybe sit in it for like a day and then I got to go on to the next thing. But everyone doesn't move that fast. So, like, how would you encourage someone if they came to you with this story? Like, I had it and then I lost it and I feel like ultimate crap.
Life is nothing without two things. Two negative things. Life is nothing without these two negative things: rejection and failure. So if you keep in mind that you are eventually going to cross those two paths eventually in your career, and then also keep in mind that positive things do happen also during that time, then I think once you know you're not the, and then you realize you're not the only person that this happens to. Like, I'm not the only person who lost a job because of COVID. Like, plenty of my actor friends lost out on jobs because of COVID, you know?
Yeah.
And so once you realize those things, I think it'll make this industry a lot better. Because like with me, let me tell you, when I first moved out here and had my, actually when I had my the DC Universe audition, I feel like I told you about this, but I don't know if I told you like to the extent of like how distraught I was knowing that I wasn't cast. Like, I was like, this is my second time ever auditioning for these people and they didn't cast me and I feel like a failure. I'm going to quit hosting, never doing this again. Like, you know, I think that's probably the lowest that I've ever hit.
Yeah.
And then once I snapped back into my senses, I was like, okay, well, I'm never doing that again. Like, I'm never, you know, having negative self-talk like that again.
Yeah.
And since then, I've just gotten like different opportunities after that, which is why I'm so like, I stress when I say this, like, I mean it. Like, what is for you cannot pass you. Like, I mean it. I don't think that was for me. As much as I love comic books, I fully understand now, me in 2021, that was not for me. But in 2018, yeah. Cheyenne was like, no, like right. This should have been mine. Like, I wanted this. Like, you know, it was like, this was gonna be it for me. You know, like another one of those. Like, this was gonna be it for me. And so, like, I was like, really, like, I remember crying out loud. Like, girl, it's just rejection. Like, me looking at myself, then I was like, girl, it's just rejection, girl. It happens. It's the industry. Like, get over it. You know. But yeah, I think once you you just really got to get over rejection. Like, you got to like learn that rejection happens to everybody. You're not the only person that got rejected, you know, and what is for you will not pass you. And I also think my parents like instill a lot of that mentality, you know, that hardworking, you know, you got to work hard and kind of like that positive, I guess, way of thinking into me. And so I try to like carry that on my back too. Like, okay, yeah, I know what is for me will happen. Nothing has passed me by that was supposed to happen for me. And, you know, the COVID thing with Google commercial, you know, that was a thing. That was definitely for me. But unfortunately, COVID happened. I don't think, you know, I don't see that as like a mistake. I see that as, okay, well, at least I know I was good enough to get that. Now, what can I get next? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Because you
so
did.
That's kind of how I like see things. Yeah, and so I was like, okay, well, I tried hard at that. What's next? Let me like use that same energy times 10 to get like where I want to go next. And so that's pretty much how I had to see it.
Got you. I definitely thought you were going to say that same energy plus ultra, but you said times 10.
Oh, well.
Okay, cool. So I think just going out then, what's even though no one can really say because of COVID, but what is, you know, what are future Cheyenne's plans? What's future Cheyenne doing?
Future Cheyenne now just took Issa Rae's masterclass and felt so inspired. So she's been like writing and trying to get a pilot written and a pilot based on like my life in LA written. Mm-hmm. And like trying to tell that story because so much craziness has happened in these past almost 4 years that I was like, I gotta write something before I grow old and forget everything that happened, you know? Right, so right. That's Cheyenne right now. She also wants to like, once that's written, you know, make a trailer for it and see if I can like you know, now I've been like making a lot of content. So I've been like fortunate enough to like be seen by specific people, which is like really cool. But like I'm also like, I wonder if there's like a way that I can shop this around, you know, with the help of some of these new friends. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm like very much writing. I'm still auditioning. You know, I got self tapes like almost every day. My agents be keeping me busy. What else? Creating content. You know, I love making just silly videos on the internet. I've been doing it since I was 16. So yeah, just trying to be seen, trying to keep busy, but also trying to tell my story. And yeah, if you haven't taken Issa Rae's masterclass, trust me, you want to like that. That was really good. Like I wasn't expecting her to actually go that in depth into things, because you know a lot of times you take these courses and like people like to be secretive. They don't want to like tell you like everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, she was like really like dropping like questions that I had answered that I questions that I've always had. I finally got answers to watching this thing. I was like, whoa, like this is great. I need to write right now. I need to like write immediately.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm hoping also to pick back on Black Heroes Therapy, but I think a couple people are like out of state still, which, you know, that sucks. But
yeah,
if that doesn't happen, I'm still looking to do, you know, I got a couple of things happening that I want to like call in friends for. So like if that doesn't happen, then I definitely want to call in people to do some other stuff, because I'm pitching some things. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I just want to be here when the pitches land, and we can come back and talk about it.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you definitely for taking time to do this. This was great.
This was cool.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So this is Cheyenne Ewulu, the hardest worker in Los Angeles, apparently. Even when you said that last bit, I was like, so basically everything we talked about, I guess the last portions, like the DC and the Marvel, that was all in the last 4 years. It's not like she was out here for like decades, like she got out here and has been working and moving. Yeah. So where can people find you on the socials?
On the socials, you can find me at Cheyenne the Geek, all one word, pretty much. Yeah.
Cheyenne the Geek. We'll put that up.
Branding.
Hey, that is so key. And so are you everywhere? Twitter, Instagram, like where are you?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. That's
TikTok?
YouTube, I guess, but TikTok. Like I'm literally on every social media.
Got it. All right. At Cheyenne the Geek, one word. Thank you for being on the show. And the last thing that I need from you is just to say, talk story to me.
Talk story to me.